Matters live show representing the Ministry of Trade and Commerce and Master the Science of Business. And we are so excited to bring to you round two of the Pioneers Speaks. And this is from the perspective of the mighty MGT. But before we get started with that, I'm going to introduce to you our beloved co-host, Brother Jahi, Mr. Communicator Muhammad. He is the CEO and founder of Fareedah Worldwide Seminars and Training and the president of Master the Science of Business, Brother Jahi.
Assalamu alaikum, business scientists. Welcome back to another special edition of Mind and Money Matters live show. We call this weekend broadcast Pioneers Speaks. So those of you who have been with us for the last couple of weekends, you know that we started this off as a thought that Sister Shireen had about 4 weeks ago, and to interview the pioneers of the Nation of Islam, some of the dynamic brothers and sisters. I say some because unfortunately we won't be able to do all of them because there's so many beautiful brothers and sisters that have laid the foundation, helped lay the foundation of this beautiful nation, the Nation of Islam. But we are able to reach out to a few that have a strong history in the Nation of Islam with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and with the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So last couple of weeks, we had some dynamic brothers, Minister Abdul Akbar Muhammad, the international representative for the Nation of Islam, and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, student minister James 7X, also known as James Najee Muhammad, who was the assistant minister to Minister Malcolm X at Temple number 7 in New York City, and still today a strong helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Brother Abdul Wahid Muhammad, the one that was right there with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in 1977 when he received that powerful written word from Minister Bernard Kushmir, who is today affectionately loved and known as Minister Jabril Muhammad. And Brother Abdul Wahid said, whatever you're getting into, Brother Minister, I'm with you. And he's been a strong helper of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we had Brother Norman Thrasher, who that's his, in the music world, he's known as Brother Norman Thrasher. He is a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee with Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. So those of you who are music historians, you know that dynamic group. He was one of the Midnighters and a longtime follower of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is the man who taught Chubby Checkers how to do the twist. This is the man that brought in Joe Tex, the soul and blues singer Joe Tex, among so many other dynamic acclaims, just doing his duty as a Muslim. So those are some of the lineup that we had. You can go to our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is Master the Science of Business, or in your search engine, in your search on Facebook, you can put at My Money Show, and you can pull up those dynamic interviews as well as 200 plus other interviews that we've been able to do over the last 3 years on the visual platform here at Mind and Money Matters live show. So with us bringing on those brothers, you know, we have to do as the Holy Quran teaches us, Mizan, the balance. So during that show, even we were getting a lot of calls from you all and text messages and emails of, we want to hear from the sisters. And we like, yes, we want to hear from the sisters as well. So we were able to bring you a dynamic lineup. So what you must do, and I'm being very dogmatic about this to all those that are listening, what you must do is share this immediately, because you do not want to miss this historical account that we are about to learn here on Pioneers Speaks, a an MGT perspective on Mind and Money Matters live shows. So please share, call up others that you know that would love to hear this. Whenever you see this broadcast, the first thing you do is push share. With this social media thing, we all know that there's an algorithm that is based upon that none of us have control over. So we say, well, the people say, well, why didn't we know about this? We need your help to share. We do what we can. Sister Shireen sends it out to about 500 of her connections. I send it out to about 700 of my connections. Now we need your help to get that snowball effect going. So all thing you gotta do is push share from whatever platform that you have. So that's the ground rules. If you have questions, you can put your questions. If you're watching us via the Zoom platform, you can go to the chat and you can post your questions in the chat. You can send them to me directly, Jahi Muhammad, or you can send them to Sister Shireen Muhammad directly, so we can see your questions. If you're watching us on the Facebook platform, you can put your questions in the comment section of the Facebook platform. And if you're watching us via YouTube, when we post this onto YouTube, you can still pose your questions on the YouTube platform and we will get to those. As a matter of fact, this is part one of a three-part series. Part one, The Pioneer Speaks, an MGT perspective, and we're looking at prior to 1975. Prior to 1975. So now having said that, anything else, Sister Shireen, that you would like to share before we bring on our illustrious guest for today?
Just excited. I want to get started because I know this hour is
Get it started. Oh, okay.
yeah, so I am so ready. I am thankful for those pioneers who reached out to us, who those believers who reached out with suggestions of who we should have on. I'm just excited. So let's just get going.
All right. So it sounded like, if you didn't get a chance to hear the pre-show or the B-roll, this is a New York City party. Sounds like to me. New York City, everybody got roots except me. So I'm the outcast here. I'm going to sit back and listen to some more dynamic things that happen in New York, New York City at Temple Number 7. So, Sister Shireen, I know you have your lineup there, as you say. Let's get it started.
Yes, yes, yes. So what I'll do, we'll do a roundtable discussion, Brother Jahi, and we'll just bring them in one by one and do a roundtable discussion. So I'm going to start with Sister Tauheedah Makari Amanra from Temple Number 7. She has 4 daughters, 9 grandchildren. She has a BS in special education and a master's in psychology. I had no idea. Wow, we have like very similar background. And she also has 1 year of law school. I'm looking forward to hearing about that. She was introduced to the Nation of Islam as a child when her mother took her to see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Wow. When she came to New York City in 1959.
When
In
he
10
came.
years, in 10 years, she would be a member of the Nation of Islam. She was raised in a Black nationalist household where, let's see, okay. So joining the Nation of Islam was a natural step. It was a natural progression for her. And when the nation fell, she sustained herself by reading all of the messenger's writings and books, Quran and tapes, and old Muhammad speaks. How valuable is that? When the minister stood back up, she was absolutely ready. Let's welcome to the platform of Pioneers Speaks. I believe she's the youngest of the group. So let's bring her in as our dear sister, Sister Tauheedah Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Praise be to Allah. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Mind and Money Matters live show, special edition of Pioneers Speaks. And then we have our dear Sister Lorraine Muhammad. Sister Lorraine is born in Harlem, New York. Let's see. She went to City College. Okay, I actually have a degree from the City University of New York. Lived on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Her parents are from South Carolina. She has two sisters and brothers. She is the youngest child of let's see, her uncle introduced her father, Leroy X, who heard Malcolm X and became a registered Muslim at Temple Number 7. She worked in New York, Bell South Company. Wow, I remember them. And Greyhound Bus Company. She received her X in 1970 and returned after the nation fell in 1988 at Muhammad's Mosque number 12 in Philadelphia, signing her Form 4, living in Delaware. Her older sister, Brenda Muhammad, rest in peace, was living in Delaware and started going to the study group. I have my own nonprofit organization, LLC, Our Time, for motivational speakers. Have come to Delaware. Guest speaker Abdul Yasin Muhammad, Abel Muhammad, Minister Abdul Hafiz Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, among many others. My passion is photography and meeting new people. I visited Accra, Ghana. What is that? Lemonade Castle, West Africa. Had a wonderful experience while visiting the door to no return. I'm 65 years old. You know, that's very rare that a sister gives her age. I love to give mine. So that's a sister after my own heart. Attending Muhammad's Mosque number 35, Wilmington, Delaware. She is single, volunteer work with seniors, dropping off food bags and fruits and vegetables and paper towels and all the essentials of our elders and pioneers. May Allah be pleased with your efforts. Welcome to the platform of Pioneer Speaks. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Lorraine Muhammad. One moment, please, beloved. Hold on. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. You have to unmute your phone. There you go. Praise be to Allah. Welcome to Pioneer Speaks. And then we have our dear Sister Fareedah Muhammad. Let's see. Okay, I have this over here. Please pardon me. Well, I can introduce her. I mean, I know her that way. All praises due to Allah. Fareedah Beyah, and she is one of our honored guests today. All praises due to Allah. Some of us affectionately refer to her as Mama or Mother Fareedah. She experienced the Nation of Islam prior to 75. She became registered as an MGT in 1958, over 60 years ago. Wow. I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speak on a television interview that Hate produced and on with Mike Wallace. She then decided to hear more about the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Her brother-in-law then took her down to Temple number 7 on 116th Street, where Minister Malcolm was teaching. And so history will actually be the best rewarder of research, as we hear from my dear sister of more than 60 years in the Nation of Islam, and my former mother-in-law, whom I love dearly. I'm so excited that she has joined us on this show, Pioneer Speaks, Sister Fareedah Muhammad Beyah. Assalamu alaikum. Let's see. I have to take you off mute. Just unmute.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you. We just need you to turn your phone landscape. If you can see my phone, turn it.
I turned it that way, but I'm still getting
one more time. Just one more time.
Still getting a long way. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Long as we can see. But if you turn it, if you make a whole evolution turn, because right now you're sideways. We're looking at you on your side.
Oh,
Yeah, so just turn it one more time and you'll be right side up. Okay, and then last but not least, we share with you, and this we are absolutely excited to have Sister Captain Emeritus Karriemah Muhammad join us on this Pioneer Speaks. For 20 years, she served as the East Coast Regional MGT Captain for Muhammad's Mosque No. 7 in New York City. During her tenure, Sister Captain Karriemah has worked with many of the student ministers under the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, such as Minister Abdul Akbar Muhammad, Minister Khalid Muhammad, Minister Conrad Tillit Muhammad, and Minister Hafiz Muhammad. She has traveled with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah on many trips all around the world. One of those trips, she was a part of a 9-woman delegation that included Mother Khadijah Farrakhan, who traveled to the 1995 Women's Conference in China. While there, she was able to see and walk on the Great Wall of China. And I really enjoyed her presentation when she shared with us some of the artifacts that she has been blessed to receive in some of these many parts of the world. She was also part of the famous Third World Tour with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah that lasted from December 1998 to February 1999. On that tour, they visited over 60 countries, during which they visited the hometown of the late Alex Haley and his family. While there, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who was so touched by the condition of the people there, had a mosque built. That tour consisted of a delegation of 25 people, of which was 3 women that included Mother Khadijah Farrakhan, Mother Tauheedah Muhammad, and Sister Captain Karriemah Muhammad. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his delegation was treated with the utmost respect by all of the countries they visited. From 1981 to 2003, Brother Abdullah, Sister Karriemah's home served as a safe haven for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his family. Their home was often called the national home on the East Coast by former Nation of Islam Chief of Staff Leonard Muhammad. The famous 1985 Madison Square Garden lecture was planned at the Muhammad home, as well as many other historic Nation of Islam events. Her husband and children served as her first staff. Sister Captain Emeritus Karriemah Muhammad has had some of the best MGT served on her staff, many of whom still support her to this day. When she was a young Bible study teacher in her hometown in Bishopville, South Carolina. No, brother, he gonna love this. Bishopville, South Carolina, Sister Karriemah will often say that she would have been one of the women who served Jesus, who knew that Allah was preparing her for that very work. All praises are due to Allah. Let's welcome our dear sister, Sister Captain Emeritus Karriemah Muhammad via phone to the Pioneers Speak. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
All praises due to Allah. Welcome to Pioneer Speaks. We have a dynamic show coming up for you all, and we're looking forward to what our pioneers have to share. So, Brother Jahi, did you want to start, or you want me to start? You know, this is unusual because he normally is the one that does all the interviewing, and I just run the boards, but it looks like he's hiding out. So I will get us started. The very first question that I have for you is, what attracted you to the Nation of Islam? Like, if you could just go back to that moment that you decided that this was going to be a home for you, what was that? Anyone?
Could you repeat the question?
what was the thing that attracted you to the Nation of Islam? So if you can go back to that moment that you decided that this would be the home for you, the Nation of Islam, your spiritual home.
Well, I can relate to that, Sister Shireen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You just still looking sideways.
I'm afraid to move it because I don't want to lose you. Okay.
You won't lose me. Just turn it to
when-
the side. You won't lose me.
Okay. When I was 18 years old, I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on the interview with Mike Wallace.
Mhm.
And when he was being interviewed by Mike Wallace, he was describing the lifestyle of the black people that was living in our day and time.
Mhm.
And his character, when he was being interviewed by the Mike Wallace, I noticed that he was very stern and serious about what he was saying because it related to some of the things that my father taught me. My father was one of the members of Marcus Garvey when we used to live in Harlem on 134th Street. And he brought all the Marcus Garvey teachings into my home, and he taught me a lot by me being a child. He taught me a lot when I was in elementary school. So I was raised up with a lot of Marcus Garvey teachings, and I related it. And as I was growing up, I related it to when I first came into mosque. I related those family teachings to what the minister was talking about when I first came into the mosque. And when I came in, when I heard Islam, I those childhood uh, lessons that my father taught me had came together. Had all the pieces of the puzzle had came together because when we came into the mosque, Minister Malcolm was teaching at the time, and he was teaching about everything that my father had told us. So I found another home. I found a family when I first came to mosque, because the sisters were so wonderful. They were so polite, and they were so happy to see me as a person. And I felt comfortable there. And then I had Sister Amina Rasul as our captain at the time. And when we went to the class, MDT class, that was another plus as far as being happy to be amongst sisters of like mind. So that was one of my reasons for coming into the nation.
Excellent, excellent. So anyone else would like to share their beginnings in the Nation of Islam, what attracted you? She spoke heavily on how she was treated. Anyone
I
else?
think what attracted me to the Nation of Islam similarly was seeing the unification of the sisters and the brothers. They always look so nice, so neat. And I lived on Union Avenue, right around the corner from the Prospect Mosque, because the 116th Street Mosque had burned down after Malcolm and it wasn't rebuilt. So we went to the mosque on Prospect Avenue, and just seeing the sisters and everybody was so welcoming and organized. And I like the whole idea of doing for self and having your own. So that's what really attracted me. And like I said, in 1959, when my mother took me to the mosque, I was about like 8 years old, not to the mosque, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I think it was at Rockland Palace or either the 369th Armory. And I went, and 10 years later, I was in the nation. So maybe that planted the seed right there.
Excellent.
And let me say one more thing.
Sure, sure.
And working in number 7 is the heart of the nation, always the heart of the nation. And we had Malcolm, we had Amina Rasul, we had Minister Louis Farrakhan. So everybody from New York should be able to run anything, anywhere. I worked with Sister Amina Rasul back in the day. Then I worked with Sister Captain Emeritus Karriemah Muhammad. I was one of her lieutenants. And she really taught the sisters. She taught us so much. So any of the sisters who worked under her are qualified to go anywhere and teach and do anything. I thank Allah for that.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Sister Lorraine?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wow.
Well, mine's a little different. My mom, she didn't come in, she was in the church. So my father was the first FOI in my life. And then my sisters, they joined the nation after my father family was similar Black nationalists under Marcus Garvey. So like my father gravitated and came under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through Malcolm X. So I seen the whole family. I was the baby, so I didn't have to really join the nation. So I was like, my sisters did, and they was the first MGT, and my father was the first FOI, and my brothers. So as time went on, my mom was like, you know, I was her little baby, so I was still going to church and doing Easter parties and everything. So I became 16 years old. So my father asked me, are you going to join the Nation of Islam? Are you going to come on in with us? And no, I'm having so much fun at church, Daddy. I'm having so much fun. So what attracted me to come in the nation, it was these FOIs. They were selling Muhammad Speaks, and me and my girlfriend on the Lower East Side. I said, oh, my brother sells those papers. And he said, oh, if they do, would you like to come out to the mosque? I mean, the temple? And that was on 116th Street. And they came and picked us up in their car and they took us. And I seen how the sisters look so beautiful. And I was like, oh, my sisters are MGTs and oh, my brothers. And this is really nice. And the minister just spoke right to my heart. And that same day, me and my girlfriends, we got up and we accepted the teachings after the minister Farrakhan at that time had spoke. But I was a little afraid to, so I didn't let my mom know in a while until after I wrote my letter and received my ex, because she was part of the Eastern Star and I was supposed to go in with her. So I didn't want her to know. So if anybody knows Sister Brother Captain Anthony's mom, I would go up there and she would help me, and she's the one who made my first uniform.
Wow.
Rosina Azetta. And so my mom was like, oh, she was just getting me ready for this big, everybody was getting ready for this big event. And I was like, well, Mom, I don't think I'll be able to go, you know. And that Sunday, I already had received my letter, which I still have the original letter. I received my ex, I had to wear white. So I came out the bedroom and literally I could look at my father's face. He was so excited. He was like, whoa. But I had already told my sisters, they were grown and they already had got married. I was still a baby at home. And my mom, she looked a little disappointed, but again, she had a smile on her face because I was attracted when I came in and I seen the discipline of the brothers. And I love the church, don't get me wrong, because I love my mom. But one thing I like about it, she was the soft side of the family. My father was very stern, FOI, but she blended with me as a young girl and molded me to love, you know, all. And she said, if this is what you want to do, if you want to go ahead, it's good. But they didn't, one thing I can say about my parents, they didn't force me into the nation. I chose to be coming to the nation on my own and stay and love the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Wonderful. You know, I can just feel the excitement on your parents' face. You know, you said that you surprised your mother with your with your letter. So all praises are due to Allah.
Yes, ma'am.
For sharing, Sister Captain Emeritus Karriemah Muhammad. How would you?
Yes.
You spoke about, you know, you believed you was gonna serve Jesus. If you could, you would. So,
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
yes.
Well, my sister Priscilla 4X,
Okay.
who came in, she's the youngest of the two children that my mom had.
Mhm.
And my mom used to listen to a lot of radio, and she started hearing things on the radio about Malcolm and about all, you know, all the things that was going on in the nation. And my sister was going. And so she said to me, she said, your sister is out there with them people that's going to get into a fight sooner or later because she was listening to Malcolm sometimes, you know, when he spoke. And so anyway, she said, you better go out there and look after your sister so you can tell me what goes on. So I started going to the mosque to look after my sister, not knowing, you know, any of the ins or out of the Nation of Islam. So anyway, I started going out like twice a month just to keep an eye on her. She ended up, because she came into Mars first, she came in '64, and I actually joined in '67. But during that '64, '67 time frame, she became the secretary to Sister Captain Amina Rasul.
Praise be to Allah.
And she's the one that introduced me, to Islam. And as I would go and listen to her, and not listening to Malcolm because he was, he was very radical in his talk at that time. And my mother was a Baptist, so it didn't sit well with her because she said, sooner or later, they're going to fight. And you need to be out there so you can be support to your sister. So I said, yes, ma'am. So that's when I started going regularly. And she invited me one Saturday evening to go to the Brooklyn Academy of Music to hear Minister Farrakhan. And that was the beginning, and that was my tenure to Islam, because I said, why didn't you bring me to hear him before now? He said, because he was in Boston. I said, oh my goodness. I joined the same night that I went to hear him.
Wow.
Because it sounded like he was talking directly to me.
Wow.
And I know many of you, when you hear the minister speak sometimes, he's touching on a subject matter or something that you needed to hear, and it sounds like he's directing it to you.
That's right.
And that's how I got involved with the nation. My sister was not only the secretary, administrative secretary for Sister Catherine Amina, but she was an excellent seamstress. And she worked in the MGT shop at that time under Sister Amina. And so she made all of my uniforms.
Praise be to Allah.
Wow. Praise.
So that's how I became acquainted with the nation. And when when the messenger left us for a bit and the minister started to rebuild, I was at City College, for that meeting. And I accepted Islam for the second time and started working with him. And lo and behold, my home became, my husband and my home became the place for the believers when they came to New York City. If anyone came to New York to see the minister, he would call me and ask me to give them a place until he got there to see them. And that's how it started. And I just thank Allah so much that I was raised in the South, even though I didn't like the South. I was raised in the South. But as soon as I was able and old enough to get a job of my own, I left the South because I did not like it. It was too much going on outside. The bugs, the frogs, the this. So I needed a place where I could walk around and didn't have to be jumping. So certainly that's how I got to New York City.
Wow.
But anyway, I knew when I got to New York City to visit my cousin, when I got off the subway, one of my cousins came and got me. My family member was living in Brooklyn, did not like Brooklyn. But they brought me to New York the second day I was in New York City, because I was formerly in South Carolina, left South Carolina, went to Norfolk, Virginia, because my mom moved to Virginia while we were in high school. So nevertheless, when my cousin came and got me the first Saturday I was in New York, she took me to 125th Street. Well, when I got out of the subway, I knew that was where I wanted to live because there was cement on the ground. So that's where I made my home, met my husband, and all the things that transpired after that. But I was born in the South, but I was not a Southerner. And to this day, New York is still the place of my heart. I mean, if someone would wake me up out of a sleep and ask me, where do you want to go? I would say New York City. Now, we're working with this virus, and we pray a lot that it subsides at some point very soon. But even if it doesn't, New York would still be the place that I would like to be, even with all that's going on. So anyway, I thank Allah. I met wonderful people. I became a part of the MGT staff with Sister Captain Amina. And when I came back to help the minister in '81, after the lecture at City College, I came in the meeting in full garb. I had on my cape, my princess uniform, the whole nine. And the sisters just act as if I was a rock star. Where did you get that? Where did you get that? I said, well, these are my uniforms from when I was in the mosque. Where can I get it made? Where can I get it made? So them seeing me in that full uniform with the princess with the cape, that's how it got reintroduced to the nation that you're wearing now.
Wow.
He had me to come to Chicago and talk with Sister Khadijah, and that's how the uniform got reintroduced to the MGT, because I don't throw my things out. And I came in with the princess, with my cape, gloves, shoes matching, pocketbook matching, everything. And everybody wanted to look the way I looked, and I could only send them to the people that helped me to look like that. And that was Sister Amina Rasul, and she was still in New York. And she, I went to Sister Khadijah, and then we went to the minister, and then Sister Amina and I went into Chicago, and that's how the uniform that you're wearing now got reintroduced to the MGT.
Wow.
Yes, I kept on, because at some point they were telling the believers, you know, after the messenger left in 75, that they didn't need those garments anymore. And I said to myself, I may not need it, but I'm not throwing it out. And so I kept all of my uniforms. My sister helped Sister Amina with the MGT shop that they had in Corona, not far from Sister Yvonne in Corona, and that's how I got started in the nation.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you so much for sharing, Brother Jaheed.
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to say on the offset, I want to thank each and every one of you for your sacrifices, for your commitment, for your dedication. And, you know, listening to each of your stories is just absolutely fascinating. So I just got to thank you at the offset for that. One of the things I hear a common thread between all of you all, as well as our previous FOI pioneers that spoke. And it's one of the things that is, I feel some kind of way about it, is that all of you were so young when you heard the teachings and you accepted the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I guess the question that I have for you is, with each one of you, and we can start with Sister Karriemah, because you being you say you're Southerner, being born in the South, what were some of the conditions that were going on in your particular neighborhoods or in your particular cities that, as you reflect back, you think that may have lended to you when you heard the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, or when you heard the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, or when you heard Malcolm X, you were like, okay, yeah, that's it. I want to go that way. So, and also Sister Karriemah, where is Bishopville, North Carolina? Like, what real city is it next? Is it near?
It's near Columbia and Sumter, Florence.
Oh, so that's South Carolina, not North Carolina.
South
Carolina. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm sure I've traveled through there if it's near those areas. So I know there was some tumultuous things going on in that era, especially in the 60s, because there's some things happening to this day. So what were some of those conditions that you think, other than the
All the
mosquitoes and the
conditions were-
bugs and the things like that that ran you up out of the South?
Well, besides the the bugs and the frogs and all that stuff, it was it was the fact that we had signs, white
Yes.
only,
Yes,
colored.
yes.
Even in the stores, you would go in, the water fountains would have one water fountain for blacks and one for whites. And all of the restaurants was white only in the window, white only,
Okay.
white only. And it was just a very, very sad time in for me, because you had my grandmother and her sisters that were already adults, and they were referring to the young white children, 9 and 10 years old, as Miss So and So and Miss So and So.
Right.
Yeah, it
Right.
was a very sad time. So
Yes, ma'am.
the South I did not like.
Yes, ma'am. Understood. Thank you for that. Sister Fareedah, where are you, a New York City native, or where are you from originally, or where did your family originate from? You're on mute, Sister Fareedah, if you can hear me. Okay,
Can you
there
hear
we go.
me,
Yes,
Jackie?
ma'am, we hear you now.
My parents originally came from Kingston, Jamaica.
Oh, okay. All right.
When my father was a merchant seaman, so he traveled around the world.
Mm-hmm.
But when he landed in New York City, and he settled in Harlem, and he was there until I was 4 years old when we moved, and that was during World War II. That's when World War II first started.
Mm.
We moved from there and came straight to the Bronx. So he took up to being, in those days, the men had jobs of taking care of buildings and living rent cheap, so he was one of the superintendents. But he taught me that when I go to school, to stand up for yourself.
Okay.
And he had the teachings of Marcus Garvey.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
From Jamaica to the US. So he had all of that in him. And he taught me. I don't know about my other siblings. I know my brother told me that he told him one day that he don't never want him to shine a white man's shoes.
Okay.
So he had knowledge of who he was, and he was trying to teach us. But as time went by, his spirit became broken, and he became, doing other things.
Yes, ma'am.
However, he taught me things to protect myself when I went to school, and also when I went to junior high school. That's when I experienced a lot of racial bias. But I was able to defend myself from what my father told me.
All praise is due to Allah. Thank you.
And protected
Yes.
me. Yes, sir.
And
So
we're talking the mid 50s, because you accepted the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1958. That's 62 years ago. You were a baby at the time compared to today's standards. So will you say that that environment in middle school helped you to go down this path?
well, brother, during the 50s
Mm-hmm.
was when they had the Korean War.
Right,
And that's
right.
when a lot of drugs came in the area.
Oh,
A
okay,
lot of drugs
okay.
came in the area, brother. And that's when heroin and all those hard drugs were introduced
Mhm.
to our brothers and sisters.
Wow.
They was really, really, really getting involved in it so heavily.
Wow.
And it was so sad to see, because we saw it physically.
Yes.
And then Governor Rockefeller had a thing. He had a thing out with the courts that if anybody get caught with a certain amount of drugs, they were going to serve 25 years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And they was imprisoning a lot of our brothers and sisters because they was really involved in heavy drugs at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So the 50s was a time of change. Between the 50s and the 60s, brother.
All right.
It was a time of change. What you're seeing now with the racial outbursts is just a recap of what happened years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Because
yes.
Our children are tired of being treated other than self.
That's right.
And they're standing up for it. And you can see the Messengers program being instituted all over the world.
Yes, ma'am.
Minister Farrakhan have done his job. He
That's
has
right.
taught
Amen.
the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, all what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had taught us. He taught all of us, our families, and if we loved our children, we would teach our children as well about the history.
Yes, yes.
And also, my father always told me, don't play with nothing that don't look like me.
Okay.
And he taught me that when I was 8 years old.
Oh, praise is due to Allah.
You know, because you bought the little white dolls, girls.
Right, right.
And when his friends came up, and I always laugh, I tell the joke to my children a lot. He said, one of his friends came up to the house with him, and I was playing with my little doll. And he turned around and looked at me. He called my father MacArthur. That's what they used to call him. He said,
like the general,
He's playing with a little white doll. And we lived on the 5th floor. And he snatched that doll from me and threw it out that window.
Okay.
He broke my heart. But then I thought about it. And I said to myself, well, why did he did that? But as he did it, he turned around and looked at me and shook his hand in my face and said, don't you ever play with nothing that don't look like you.
Oh, praise is due to Allah.
And I said, yes, sir. That's all I said. But as you get older, you see things and you hear
understand,
things.
Yeah.
Yes. And by my parents coming from the islands, Jamaica, they gave us free reign to go where we want to go. Because that's what they did in the islands. As long as we was home at a certain time, they let us travel around where we had to go. So we did that, and we saw what he was teaching. And that's how I saw the brothers one day in the park playing handball. And they didn't look like the brothers on the block.
Okay.
The brothers on the block was all into the drugs. And these brothers was clean.
Yes, ma'am.
Brother, they was clean. And I asked a friend of mine, well, these brothers don't look like the ones on the block. Where are they? So then the girl told me that they was Muslims. And I was 15 when I first heard it.
Okay.
All right. Muslims. I said, well, where are they? So, as the years go by, you start hearing and seeing things. And my father was a news advocate. He used to read all the newspapers that was out there, and he used to listen to the news a lot. And that's when I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad being interviewed by Wallace. And I asked my father, who is this man? He said, this is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I said, and he said, and so I said, well, what is he all about? He said, well, he's from the Nation of Islam. This is what my father was telling me. I was 18 years old.
Okay.
He said, he's Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he teaches Islam. He said, but the government don't want Islam taught in this country. He said, and he told my brother-in-law had came up to bring me to the mosque. So we was all sitting there listening to the broadcast. So he said, the government don't want this taught in this country, and they're going to give y'all hell about it. So I told him, I said, well, they're going to give us hell about it anyway, because they're doing it right now. So I'm coming down there and find out what's going on down there.
Look at that.
Yes, sir. And that's when I came down to the mosque, and I saw a lot of my friends and people I knew that had attended the mosque, Temple number 7 on 116th Street.
All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it was separation time. at that particular time in the 50s and 60s, people was trying to reclaim their own.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was beautiful, Brother Jackie. It was you ever hear the fable, the Pied Piper?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Yes,
when you
yes.
got off the 7th Avenue Express or the
Yes, yes,
Atlantic Avenue,
yes,
everybody was coming out of that subway
yes.
station.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, where you used to hang out. You know, all the people you know from all walks of life, from
Yes,
all
ma'am.
boroughs. And it was a beautiful time because it was a time of change. And Malcolm we used to go down to the courthouse and rally for some of the brothers that used to get arrested.
Okay,
And
okay.
yeah, we did all of that back in those days. But, you know, as time go by and then you start having children, for me anyway, I didn't get around as much as I would have loved to. So, but I did get a chance to, you know, go to the mosque and
Yes, ma'am.
enjoy my sister's company. And my husband was a laborer there. So, you know,
Okay.
both of you couldn't operate at the same time. You know, that's what they tell us, you know, two people can't operate
All
at the
right.
same time
All
when
right.
you're in a family like that. But I did work in the secretarial department when I did
Yes,
go.
ma'am.
I
Yes,
volunteered
ma'am.
services wherever was needed. And we got involved in a lot of the fundraising activities.
Yes.
And that's what, you know, kept me busy when I came in the mosque.
Oh,
And
praise is due to Allah.
when the mosque fell in 75, they just told us to read your Quran and keep in touch with everybody and stay close to one another.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, praise is due to Allah. Thank you for sharing that. You know, Sister Shireen, before I go on to Sister Tauheedah, I noticed a common thread in all of our guests so far, the FOI pioneers as well as the MGT, and that is the presence of a strong father in the house.
Yes.
That is, and I'm saying that from the perspective of, you know, we hear so much about how the black man, the black father is not in the homes and those types of, we know that is in epidemic proportions. However, it has not always been like that. And it's not, it's probably a small percentage of our population where that is not, where that is the case, where the father is not in the home. However, it gets the maximum exposure. So I want to thank all of you for sharing that it was your father that said X, Y, Z. Your father instilled in you. Don't play with nothing that doesn't look like you. That's absolutely fascinating. So thank you. Thank you all for sharing that. Sister Tauheedah, I'm sorry, I missed where are you from originally and what do you think? Yes. Go ahead.
I'm originally from New York City, born right in Harlem Hospital, baby.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
I came into the nation in 1969.
Yes, ma'am.
And my father was also present in the home, but at the time he didn't want nothing to do with no Muslims.
You said at the time, right? At the time.
Yes. As time passed, he used to always say, nobody can't tell me nothing but Farrakhan. That's my man.
Come on now.
So
Come on now.
Evolved to that state. I think I wanted to say, even today, whether people are in the nation or out of the nation, you can see these black people here in Georgia, they bought 19 families, bought all these acres. Have you guys been keeping up with that?
Oh yes, and the land is right outside of Sandersville, Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're just practicing the messenger's teaching.
Absolutely.
Because everybody sees right now, everything that's happening now, what the messenger said was so right and exact. And we can put it into everything that's going on right now with our people. From how to eat to live, to buying land, from practicing cooperative economics. That's nothing but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's program.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. And it's coming, they're saying do intermittent fasting. That's nothing but eating one meal a day.
Eating one meal a day, absolutely.
That's all it is.
Amen.
All the teachings that we gain from the Nation of Islam, still to this very day, people are expounding on, they're using it, but they won't give credit to where it came from.
That's right.
That's right.
And I agree with you 100%, Sister Tauheedah. They will not give us credit, but that is the beauty of us being followers and students of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Sister Shireen, Sister Sandy and I started this platform as a way for us to sound the alarm, a way for us to give a platform in our part to those such as yourselves who are doing things, who've laid a foundation and are still doing things. So that's up to us to continue, to let the people know that the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is our success. That when we follow them, this is
Right.
the results
Yes, sir.
are like the examples that each one of you are giving, being in this work for a long time, through the trials and the tribulations, but still knowing that at the end result is we're on the side of Allah and we are the winners. And the whole world is seeing that now. The whole world has their eye, like July the 4th. The whole world saw what the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan had to say. Whether they come out and say it or not, that's irrelevant. We see the results, what are going on about that. So thank you for sharing that, Sister Tauheedah. Sister Lorraine,
Yes.
are you Delaware? That's where you are now. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Harlem, New York. I was
Okay.
born in Mount Sinai Hospital and in New York City. My family came from South Carolina by way of Jersey into Harlem.
Okay.
But I'm in Delaware now.
What part of South Carolina?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Charleston, you're on the
my
coast.
husband.
Oh yeah, you and Sister Karriemah may be cousins.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, my husband is from Charleston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his
So,
parents are
yes,
from Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, I
yes.
didn't know
And
brother
my mom used
was
to
from
tell me
Charleston.
about a street, Sister Fareedah, about it was called Brick City or Brick Road. She used to tell us stories about that. But
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was a baby at that time.
Okay.
All praises due
Well,
to her. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Sister Shireen, this is Sister Karriemah. I
Yes.
wanted to share something with the sisters that made a great impact on coming to that when you teach a woman, you teach a nation, you teach a man, you teach an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while I worked as the captain in New York City, the minister came to our home one Saturday during class, and my husband called me and said, "You never guess who's here." So I said, "No," I said, "I don't like guessing. Just tell me." And so he said, "Minister Farrakhan." So I said, "Okay, I'll be right there." So I got one lieutenant, left the class, and went home because we lived on 119th Street in Harlem, and the mosque was at that time on 5th Avenue and 125th Street.
Yeah.
So when I got to my home, I was so happy to see the minister, and he was coming through New York, coming from another trip he had been on. And he said, the reason he said, I started to come to the mosque. He said, but I was a little tired. I said, you real tired, sir? He said, I figured I'd come here so I can get some rest. Well,
Wow.
I said, Brother Minister, before you get some rest, do you think that I could go back to the sisters and share with them that you're here and they could come and shake your hand?
Wow.
Wow.
And he said, you think they'd come? I said, come, they will run. So I convinced him because he wanted to see the sisters, but he didn't feel like going to the mosque. So I said, I know I can get them to come. Well, every sister in the class that Saturday was able to come to our home, and shake the hand of the minister who had never met him, who had never gotten close to him or whatever. And the entire MGT class was able to come to our home that day and shake the minister's hand. And he was so elated. You would have thought that, I know the sisters was just out happy. But when last sister left, he said, they energized me.
Oh, praises.
So I'm saying that to say, when you can make your class, and I used to say this all the time to the sisters, when you can make your class, because you never know
No.
what the day is going to be like.
Right.
You leave home thinking one thing, and no one, even I, didn't know the minister was coming to our home, and didn't know that he would agree to have the sisters come and shake his hand. And when they finished shaking his hand, he said he was energized.
Oh, praise is due to Allah. Wow, that's a
So
beautiful story. Yes, ma'am.
yeah, I mean they talked about that for the longest.
I'm sure.
So come to your class, because you never know when what's gonna happen.
What's going to happen? Absolutely.
You know.
That's yes.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to share that because he had never done that before, but he loved New York City.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
even though he was coming off of a trip and he was tired, when he finished shaking those sisters' hands, he said he was energized.
He was rejuvenated. That was a great,
Yes,
that's a
sir.
great gesture of love on
Yes,
both
sir.
parts.
On
Wonderful.
both sides.
On both
Absolutely.
sides. Yes, ma'am. Sister Lorraine, with
Yes.
your, I just wanted to make a quick note about South Carolina from that Charleston area. You said that's where your parents are from. Your parents
Yes.
were. Now, those that are listening, I got to give kudos to our brothers and sisters in this Charleston, South Carolina area. I did a tour down there about 20 years ago, and the black guy that took us on the tour, told us, and I never realized this, how strong the black people in that area were. I did not
Yeah.
know. You have the Citadel, which is the military school down there. They just
Yes.
started integrating a few years ago, but the Citadel was started to teach white people how to fight because you black folk kept bucking up down there, kept revolting and rebelling in Charleston, South Carolina. You know, they hung our brother Denmark Vesey. They still got the
Yes.
tree up where they hung him
Yes.
from.
Yes.
When he was
Yes.
organizing this great revolution. So I
Yes.
gained a newfound respect for the brothers and sisters in the Charleston, South Carolina area because they were not having it. It's a different type of black person down there. But where you grew, I see from your background that you have several family members that came
Uh,
into the classes of the Nation of Islam.
well,
So and you say your uncle got it started?
yeah, my uncle got it started was Uncle. We used to call him Uncle Billy, but it's Uncle Bilal. Well, being I was the youngest, um, my mom, she was she didn't want to come in today, so I was the baby, so I like my mom, but I like my dad too, and I listened to my brothers and sisters, but I wanted to really please my mom, so I went to church for a while and listened to, but my daddy was strong, daddy would just look at me with this look and help him one day, but he didn't force me. I thank Allah that he didn't push me into the nation. It was by the divine guidance that Allah
Yes.
had me as a
Yes.
teenager, and I wanted to go, and I was
Absolutely.
at the right
Absolutely.
time and a right place, and
Yes.
um, it was always all around me. I would see my brothers shining their shoes and putting their bow ties, so it was always around me. But mommy wanted me to go to church, and I wanted to be
Yes,
a
ma'am.
good girl. I wanted to be a good girl. So
Yes,
then I
ma'am.
used to see then my sisters. They were all getting married and having children, right, Brother Zai? And then my father said, how old are you now? And I said, I'm 16. He said, oh, you think it's time for you to, come on and join the nation and be like your sisters? I didn't want to have a lot of children. I thought when you came in the nation, you had to get married and have babies. I said, I wanted to travel. I want to be a movie star. I wanted to be a photographer. Because my father, Leroy 3X, he took pictures. He was a photographer. All his work is at the Schomburg Library. Thanks to my brother Omar, may peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. That they
All
see
praise is due to Allah.
it's in the archives. We get a residual income every year from our father's pictures and
Oh,
photography.
wow. All
Temple
praise
number
to
7.
Allah.
Sister Captain Amina was my captain, and
Mhm.
Sister Rosetta, brother Anthony's Muhammad,
Mother.
brother Christopher. Their mother had a lot of influence, and Sister Hortense and me, we were around the same age in the nation. We had a lot of energy on the Sister Captain Amina. So we would always go back and forth. We had a reunion. It was called New York Reunion by way of Atlanta. So I got to keep in touch. But what I wanted to say is, Brother Jaha, is I always say I thank Allah that it was around me, but I would thank Allah that my mother had the softer part.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
my personality, I could deal with religious people. My mother was very political. We grew up in the projects, and my father was like the dad of the projects because he would get them all jobs. You working for, I remember when Tasty Cakes was out, but Intimate came in the projects and gave my father a job to help people, and I
Oh,
was
wow.
selling the Muhammad Speaks because black people, they didn't even know how to sell the word intimate. What's
Right,
intimate?
right,
It was a cake.
right, right,
So
right,
my dad
right.
showed me how to take care of myself. He gave me a little table in the projects, and I would sell that, and he would sell the final call. So he was already teaching me how to do for self. And
Come
then,
on now.
yeah, and Mama didn't allow me to wear no little clothes because I was a big girl. So
Okay.
she was so I
Okay.
would say, "Mommy, I want to get that," and my father would look at my mom and say, "She's not wearing that."
Good,
So
good
I
deal.
was always used to covering myself as a child. So being real popular coming in 16 and 17, I was allowed to do a lot of fishing because once the girls in the neighborhood see me with the handsome FOIs coming
Come
to
on now.
pick me up, nice pretty cars, the girls would line up and say, "Can I go where you going?" And so that's
you
where
you top you top fisher person, huh?
yeah. I said,
You
"Oh, come
live
on."
by the busloads.
Yeah, they
Okay.
come with me. Back in the day, they had the shiny cars, the with Eldorado.
Yes,
And they
ma'am.
would see me come out, and the girls said, "Girl, where you going?" And as I was saying, what the sister was saying in the 50s about the drugs, I grew up in Alphabet City. It was saturated with heroin.
Oh,
Saturated. So
wow.
it was a good time at that time because I was turned when I would look around, Mama would send me down south every year. And I didn't know why she was doing that, but I would go down there and help out and go to Jersey and different places. But when I came back, it was everybody was nodding. It was they had saturated the
Mm.
projects. So my father and the FOIs from the Lower East Side of Harlem, they had a hard time because the drugs was coming heavy in the 70s.
Yeah,
That's when I
yeah.
was. So
Wow.
I like to thank Allah for the time that I was there, and I still keep in touch with everybody. We call it LES. And Sister Hortense, she know how I was. We were anytime Sister Captain Amina would come back and she would say, said something from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It was just like we were right there, like
Yes,
we were
yes.
talking with him.
Yes.
It was so beautiful. Our MGT class, I could close my eyes, click my heels when I would get to the train station on 116th and we get out and what was so beautiful, you get out and you can see all the rainbows of all different color headpieces in Harlem. You see blue headpieces, red
Yes.
headpieces, yellow, and you would see like a rainbow coming out the train station. Y'all know what I mean, 116.
Yeah. Well, we had a
Yes,
color
yes,
for each
ma'am.
day.
Yes,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
did. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
the sisters had colors
Yes,
for
ma'am.
each day,
yes,
and we
yes,
all had a calendar. So we
yes,
knew what color to have on Monday, from
yes.
Monday to Sunday.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am. And so,
Yeah.
you would close your eyes, and then the salon was right there, so you could smell the aroma of the food right there.
Mhm.
A salon restaurant and a bakery, and across the street was Respect for Life bookstores, and then we had the
Bookstore,
steak and
yes.
cake. Then we had May Allah be pleased, and Brother Hafiz had he had the barbershop. Remember the barbershop, and then it turned into a
Yeah.
Brother
barbershop
Tracy.
salon.
Yeah.
And where I got my jewelry from, brother on 116th Street, he was making the jewelry at the time. Remember that? The
Yes,
jewelry.
ma'am.
Yes.
Brother Hamza.
I mean, yes, that's
Yep.
it. And
Brother
what was his
Hamza.
name? The brother that was the photographer on 116th Street. He took a lot of pictures. Forget his name, but I just want to say,
Brother William.
yeah, Brother William. Yes, yes,
Yep.
yes. I just want to say to Brother Akbar, it was told to me, and from my father worked at the Schomburg Library. He was a maintenance, and he used to sit me up on the and watch the reel of all the places like Africa, Ghana. It was called Geography. Remember that? The geography, the books, but it had a video. And my dad used to sit me up there and watch the reel. So I watched all the countries when people were doing. And I said, oh, I always want to go to those places. But it was Brother Akbar who burned the hole in my heart to love Africa. As we called the minister Larry. Remember that, y'all?
Yep. Yeah.
Yes,
And he
Larry
ma'am.
would tell,
Poet.
that's right. And he would tell us
Larry
about
Poet.
Africa. So as I got older, and my father shared with me that my parents left with Marcus Garvey, and they did go back to Liberia, Africa, but my grandmother got sick. But I thank Allah because my father came back and he married my mom, and that's how I'm here. So,
All praises
so
due to Allah.
yeah. So
I
those.
wish you all could see yourselves. And if you, when you go back and listen to this, it's on Facebook. So
Oh,
those who
okay.
ask about the replay, you can go to Master the Science of Business page on Facebook, or you can put in your search at Mind Money Show, the at sign Mind Money Show. You can pull this up. All your tones are so vibrant. Everybody's smiling and everybody's happy. It is
It's
absolutely
like a little
awesome.
reunion, a little
It is.
Savior's Day, a mini
And
Savior's Day.
Sister Lorraine, I'm listening to you, right? And I hear Sister Shireen. Some of the stories that
Wow.
you're telling is the same thing that she talks about all the time.
Oh
I'm
my
from
Yeah.
goodness.
I'm from the motherland originally, Mississippi, right?
Oh,
So this New York thing, I've been to New York several times, but I don't have that kind of intimate relationship, obviously, with New York. But after listening to Sister Shireen for the last 5 years during
okay.
this broadcast, I feel like a New Yorker. I
Yes.
see these places, and she paint a vivid
Yeah.
picture of the good things and also of the things that Sister Fareedah brought up with the influx of the heroin in the
Yes.
community.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
like every time we're making progress,
Progress.
then the enemy
Yep.
comes in and drug us. Same thing
Yes.
happened. The Honorable Mr.
That's
Louis
right.
Farrakhan starts
Crack
rebuilding the
cocaine.
nation, and then they bring in crack cocaine. I'm
Yes,
sitting
sir.
here going, wow, thank you all for sharing this because I'm getting tidbits of history, right, and pulling it together. Like, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know that
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
So as we one of the last question I have for each one of you, back to that point, and I preface it by saying this, we had brother Jackie Muhammad, who's on the show, who was in New York City,
Yes.
he was a lieutenant with brother Abdullah, Sister
Yes.
Karriemah.
Right. My
He was on
husband.
the
Yes,
show,
sir.
and he talked about how he was already in the ranks. He came in under Minister Malcolm, but he said he was sold when he heard of this brother Minister Lewis out of Boston. He came
Oh
and he
yeah.
taught at
Yeah.
the mosque. He said,
Louis
"Brother,
said.
I was so." So I've heard that similar theme from several of you as well.
Yeah.
That once you heard Minister Lewis, it
Farrakhan.
was
That was it.
that was
Yeah.
it. So from each one of you, as because this is going to be our prelude for. Are we on tomorrow, Sister Shireen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tomorrow is the rebuilding. So, as a prelude for tomorrow, do you all remember, each one of you remember the first time you heard and or seen Minister Lewis or Minister Louis Farrakhan?
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Go. This is
Is
Yeah,
that a question?
your
that's
first,
a question. Yes, ma'am. We can start that question right now.
first time.
The first time.
I don't remember when I actually saw him because or either heard him. I can't remember back that far, but my husband was a laborer in the nation for a very long time. And I heard him. I don't know the exact year, but I did heard him when he was up and coming from Boston. I know he just came in from Boston, and they introduced him. But that was probably the early 60s, maybe in the 60s. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I know that his children went to the university with my children. So I got to know them well. And their parents too, but I don't know the first time I heard Minister, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. So that year is kind of not in my memory bank. But when he did come, when he did speak, I know that brothers Yusuf Shah and all of those other laborers was laboring then. And not too soon after Minister Malcolm left, Minister Farrakhan was right behind him. And he was being introduced as a minister from time to time under Minister Malcolm, from time to time, as a visiting minister. And that's what I remember back in those days, until he actually became the minister of Temple number 7.
I can remember I think it was 1968 on Prospect Avenue again. Brother Florestino, he was selling papers and he was telling me about going to the mosque, which was right there on Prospect Avenue. And that's the first time I heard Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I accepted that very same day.
Wow.
And something else I would like to say, at the end, before the nation fell, we had just had sisters becoming sister ministers, and I was in the sister ministry class.
Okay.
The last time I think we interacted on 116th Street, and I had the privilege of bringing the minister on at that little gathering of all the sister ministers and stuff, so I'll never forget that. So I think all those type of things keep us strong, and we keep on talking about New York, but New York was the heart of the nation.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes.
And it can't, the body can't function without the heart pumping. And that's just the way New York was. Some people think we're kind of arrogant, this and that, but we should be, because we had some of the best teachers.
Yes.
The best teachers in number
Yes.
7. So we should be good anywhere we go. And I think
right.
a lot for number 7.
Well, listen, Sister Tauheedah, 5 sisters from the MGT class that I was over in New York City are captains in other cities right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. That's good teaching. Yes. So that was my first interaction with Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I accepted that very same day.
Yeah, but you don't get to hear the minister but once and not accept.
That's
Because
right.
I accepted the first time I heard him too. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum. Well, I always heard him because remember Brother William when he was on the radio, y'all?
Oh, yes.
Remember that? When the radio,
Yes,
they used
we
to bring
do.
him on?
Communicator. Yeah.
So when I had went out to the, I had no idea that I was going to accept, but Minister Farrakhan was teaching, and all the stuff that my father and I heard from my brothers and sisters, it was just something it was just giving me chills because I was right there listening to him. But do y'all remember the blackboard when they used to have the blackboard up there and it said which one would
Yes.
you
Mm-hmm.
remember that? And it had the
Childless and shameless.
Yes, and it had the
Uh-huh.
so I was looking at that, and so it was just like he was talking to me, and he said, if you want to come on up and shake your hand and join your own, and that was the day that I personally, I mean, I've heard him before, but that was I went up and I shook his hand, and I got up and accepted, and they took us to the back, to fill out the forms and everything, but it was electrifying for me. But it was something of a connection, it wasn't that nobody forced me. It was already in my DNA, and it was something all
And
the way up
you
until
know who
today.
else accepted at number 7 was Sonia Sanchez.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was that 6X? Because I seen her at City College.
Mm-hmm.
I seen her at City College. I was attending
Yes.
City College, and she came there and she spoke. Sister Sonia Sanchez. Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Wow. Did everyone get an
Well,
opportunity to share?
I know you all heard me say that I don't deal with outside too much, but I'm a very good cook. So I always told my family, if you all grow the food, I'll cook it, but I can't go in the garden with you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yep.
And that's how I end up hosting the minister so much, because when he started to rebuild, he didn't have any place to really eat, So, and I was, by Allah's grace, I was the one that set up the sisters in the different cities to do his food, showed them how to serve. I was the first one that, when he bought the palace back in '86, I came out to help Sister Khadijah,
Praise
do
be to
that dinner there that she had, and I was the only one that remembered how to set a civilized table. So I
Praise
taught
be
the
to
sisters
Allah.
that were coming in the nation how to set the table the way the messenger taught us to set it up.
Yes, yes.
Because it's not set up the way it is in the enemy's world.
That's right.
So and that was in 1986. So and Sister Mother Khadijah and I cooked and served the minister's guests until it got out of hand.
Wow.
The minister started out with a few people, and within a year we had to get more staff because the dinners got so big
Wow.
that she and I couldn't do it by ourselves anymore. So we established a staff to help us to cook and serve the minister when he had his guests coming to the palace after he bought the palace.
Praise be to Allah.
Okay, so we have one final question before we go for this evening. And that question is coming from the Zoom platform. And the question is, well, one, the statement is all praises due to Allah. This is so absolutely beautiful. If you could leave any jewel of wisdom with the believers today, what would that be?
Assalamu alaikum. I would say the restrictive laws of Islam will bring you success. I would also say, I think back in the day, the believers were so strong because they were believers. It wasn't a personality thing. It wasn't an individual type thing. We believed. We gave our all, working, our money, whatever, because we really believe. People believe today, but I don't see it as unified as we were for some reason, and especially in number 7 and all over.
Yes, yes.
Because people believed and we really were about building a nation. And if I could leave anything or say anything to the believers today, stay strong, stay together, don't get involved in personalities, believe in, hey, the 3 wise men. That's all you have to worry about. Master Farad Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because other people will have you going all over the place. So that's what I would say. Be a believer, stay rooted in the teachings, be a brother to your brother, a sister to your sister. And that's what we were back in the days. And I think
that's right. Yes, we
go a whole lot of places. So we were strong and unified with each other. And I think we need to build that back up today where we're stronger, where we really have that love and we're not all about all these other things of the world. We were more concentrated with the nation. That was our aim, that was our objective. And I think that made you a better believer.
Absolutely. And one of the things the minister taught us in New York, Minister Farrakhan, is that every so often we should read the article, "We Must First Be Brothers."
Right.
For the sisters and the brothers.
Okay.
Because it cements the messenger's words in that article sustains you.
That's right.
And it's good reading. You should try to read it at least once a month or every 2 months, but you should read it because the minister taught us from the messenger that was a cementing article that he put in the paper. We must first be brothers, and that's the title on the front of that newspaper.
Oh, praise is due to Allah. Thank you for sharing that,
Jewel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I just wanted to say that for how strong is your foundation?
Okay.
And the thing is, right
Will
now,
you survive? Yes.
Yes. And it says when we were taught under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I thank Allah for the teachings because we were taught to study. We were taught to study, not just to say, all praise to Allah and go home like a church.
Right.
Because there will be people that would come and say anything to you, especially in the time of the minister maybe be departing, and you just listening and agreeing with everything. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're more dangerous to anybody by being a yes person and not standing up for the truth. One thing we did stand up for in the truth. If we heard something that was disliked and wasn't the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we didn't go for it.
That's right.
We need strong people, strong believers, restrictive law, and start loving on your brothers and sisters, and all that backbiting and talking and little grabbing and stuff. We ain't do that. We back in the day, if a sister stepped on your feet, you say, "Oh, sister," okay. And the next day, "Assalamu alaikum." That's the kind of love that's gonna sustain you. Because if somebody step on your feet in the mosque and you get a little disgruntled, I see them fly out the door. I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh, praise.
I ain't going nowhere. They fly out the door. Oh, so that sister hurt me, or that brother said something about me. What did you come in for? So how strong is your foundation? Because I'm not.
Come on, that's right.
Well,
Oh,
I would
thank
like to, this is Sister Karriemah. I'd like to end with this. The messenger said he set the minister in his seat at Mount Mariam.
Yes,
But he
ma'am.
also said during the theology of time, where you see him, look at him.
Come on
Where
now.
he
That's
said,
right.
go.
Oh,
Where
that's
he
right.
said, stay from, stay
Stay
from.
Stay from.
And if you follow his example, when I tell you, we don't know how to treat our enemies, but you watch Minister Farrakhan. He treat all of his enemies with the utmost respect and love. He leaves the enemies in the hands of Allah, but he is our example. He shows us how we are to treat each other, and if we do that and let Allah fight our battle, many times we as human beings have said, had I followed my first mind, this would have went better. Well, that's Allah that you didn't listen to.
Come on.
That's
That's
right.
right.
So when the
Oh,
first
praise.
mind is what you follow, and everything after that is you and the devil.
Oh,
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. That was powerful right there. All praise is due to Allah. Thank you all so much. I
Thank
can't
you.
wait till Sunday for tomorrow as we discuss the rebuilding period up to the Million Man March. And I mean, today was absolutely exhilarating. We can tell by those that have chimed in, the text messages we've been getting, some of the comments, and others have been sharing this platform, just like I asked you to. Thank all of you. I want to thank all of you who are watching, who did share. I see that you shared it to quite a few different other groups and sites, so that this dynamic information can get out. So again, thank you all for the jewels that you shared. Sister Shireen,
Thank you.
you're
Look,
quite welcome. My honor.
I just want to leave with that. We must be brothers. We
That's
must
right.
be brothers. So all praises due to Allah. Inshallah, we'll be able to share where you can get that article so that you too can be grounded. We heard some magnificent jewels from our sisters.
Absolutely.
From the sisters' perspective, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Until tomorrow, we know that we must study. We
Yes.
must not just be, like a leaf, just blown wherever the wind blows. We
Yes.
flying over here. We have to be studied so that we will know the Master's voice. We will know the voice of Almighty God Allah. We will know the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's voice. We will know the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's voice because we study. All praises are due to Allah. Thank you so much for joining us today on Pioneer Speaks prior to 75. Tomorrow we will deal with the rebuilding to the Million Man March. The rebuilding to the Million Man March. And after that, next Saturday will be our final part for this particular episode of Pioneer Speaks from the Sisters' perspective. Will deal with the Million Man March to present time. So tomorrow is the rebuilding to the Million Man March. We look forward to seeing you then. Assalamu alaikum.
Well,
Wa alaikum
Alaikum
salam.
salam.